Hello everybody, and this is a short video. Well, I say short video. The intention is to make it short, but quite often with my videos they just end up rambling and going long. But we'll start as we mean to go on. This is a short video about this phone, the Google Nexus 5. It's my phone that I've had for about maybe even longer, 3.5 years. And I'm going to tell you why this is what I think is the best smartphone I've ever had. And I'm also going to tell you why I'm no longer using it and I've got something else. So let's start with a bit of a backstory. So just before I bought this phone, for the previous 3 years or 2.5 years, I had a Samsung Galaxy S3, and this was the very first high-end smartphone that I'd ever had. I got it on the day it came out. I paid half of the money and in order to get the contract down, but so it was on a contract. So I paid a reasonable amount up front, and I got it on the day one, and I was really disappointed with it. I was disappointed with it on a couple of levels. First off, it was only available in blue. I don't want a blue phone, and it was a horrible shade of blue as well. And the sides, the actual chassis of the phone was a different blue to the back, and I think that was something wrong in the initial production run, and it was changed later on. But I still got the horrible back. Secondly, even though it was like a top-end phone, it seemed really, really sort of cheaply made. The back that you pulled off to get to the battery was and the SIM was really flexible and really. So even from day one, I was a bit let down by the whole thing, and it's not the best phone, but it's better than I've ever had before. So I had it for the duration of the contract, so I made the best of it, as it were. But as I was going through, I realised that, as I was going through the contract, that is, the duration of the contract, I realised that the phone had a few downsides. The hardware was good enough. Samsung always made good hardware, but the software was really not great. That TouchWiz interface that they put on top of Android was awful, truly awful. There was only one good feature, and that was only really a nice-to-have feature. And that was when you looked at the screen, it detected your eyes were looking at something. So if I was looking at something in a big a Kindle app or something, I could read the entire document before. And it wouldn't switch off. It would only switch off when I looked away. That was the only good thing about it. The software that came with it, it was awful. It was really badly designed. It was really non-intuitive. So, the first thing you do is, I'll take it off. There's better stuff than that in the Play Store, but I can't take it off because it's Samsung's bundled software. So I can only disable it, and it stays there for the life of the phone. Anyway, so towards the end of the contract, I decided that enough was enough, and I wanted a different type of phone. I wanted something that was simple, quick, small, and cheap and reliable. And this phone was the one I got. This was the Google Nexus 5. It was really, really cheap compared to the other ones. I think it cost me about 170, maybe even £200, something like that. But considering the other phones were of £300 plus at the time, this was a really good value phone. It was nice to hold in your hand. It was it was perfect hand shape. The nice sort of rubberized feel on the back means that you didn't drop it. I never dropped this phone. I knocked it off a bench a couple of times, but that wasn't the fault of the phone. That was me being clumsy. And it was fast because it had, and I used advisedly the word vanilla or stock Android, but it was the nearest we could have to just an Android phone without anything else on. So this was a brilliant phone. Cheap, fast, great smartphone. So I had 3 wonderful years with this phone. But back in 2016, I realized that I had to get rid of it. And I had to get rid of it primarily because Google weren't updating Android on it anymore. So version 6 of Android was the last version that you were going to get on. I wasn't really bothered about that, to be honest. I wasn't really bothered about going to 7. But I was bothered that you couldn't get any security patches for it anymore. That was the first big thing that made me realize that I'm going to have to get rid of it and get something else. The second thing was that I only got the 16 gig version of this when it came out, and as I was doing a lot more vlogging and podcasting and stuff like that, I needed some extra space, and I was constantly shifting stuff off it. So that was one thing. The other thing was that because it's a sealed battery, the battery was kind of taking longer to charge. I was having to charge it more often, should I say? And finally, it was just starting in the last couple of months, starting to get a bit unreliable. It was starting to reboot itself every so often, randomly throughout the day. And because I'm on call all the time, or a lot of the time, that's unacceptable, really. So I think it got to the stage where it's still a great phone, but it's reached its natural life with me anyway. It will live on. I am going to sell it on, but for my needs, sadly, it's although it was and it is still my favourite smartphone that I've ever had, it has to pass on. And the next part of this video, I will show you what I got to replace this phone. And you'll probably be surprised because of all the things I've said about this phone, how it was small and neat and fitted in the hand. Okay, so now I've done all that big build-up, you're probably all wondering what I actually chose to replace my beloved Nexus 5. Well, you're going to get a shock, I think. So, without further ado, it is. Oh, get it in shot. Yes, there you go. It's a Oneplus 3T. So this is what I got to replace my beloved Nexus 5. And you're going to say now, immediately, you're thinking, well, all of the things you said that you liked about the OnePlus 3, the Nexus 5, this is completely separate, completely different. It's huge and it's more expensive and all of those things. And you're right on all of those accounts, except that things have changed, and this is why I think this is the best phone currently on the market in terms of value for money as well as performance. So let's get started. We're going to do a review of this. You probably already knew that this is how it's all going to build up to. It's going to be a review of the OnePlus 3T. So I'm not going to do an unboxing because they're laborious and boring, but I am going to take you through a few things that are interesting. So the first off, the box. If we talk about the box, right, this is a side thing, really. It's not about the phone, but they've obviously spent a lot of money and time designing this box. It's got this wonderful sort of, it's obviously cardboard of some sort of thing, but it's got this wonderful slightly rubberized coating on it, and you've got the embossed. I don't know whether you can see that there. You can just about see that glinting. You've got the embossed 3 in there, and the OnePlus logo it's all nice and it's all textured, and it's all really very well done. And let's see if I can get in. Hang on. I just take it out the screenshot for a minute when I wrangle with it here somewhat. So if we get in, so there's even a plastic. This is plastic insert for where the phone would go, and then if you take this out, you've got all sorts of well designed bits in the middle. And you just knock the camera and it's all very well done. Anyway, so you spent all that time designing and all that time putting it together and making the packaging look so lovely, and then what you do is you ram it in this air bubble packaging so hard that effectively you damage the whole box in the corner. It's all squished. The other corners are not so badly done, but that one there is done, and this one is definitely poorly done. So what's the point of that? You just spoil yourself. So immediately I looked at that and went, I'm a bit sad now. I wonder if I've chosen the right phone. So let's get this out of the way. After that bit of sadness, let's actually have a look at the phone for the first time. And there it is. Ooh, isn't it lovely? So it's a big difference. So it's a 5.5-inch screen as opposed to the 5 screen. Actually, it might. I think the Nexus 5 wasn't a 5-inch screen. I think it was like a 4.7-inch screen. Anyway, so it's considerably different and so considerably bigger. So that one of the things I said was I didn't really the Nexus 5 was a nice size phone, and this is I can't, and I used to do this a lot and use my thumb to reach across and press things, and it's much harder to do it on this one. So yes, it's much bigger, but the consequence of having a much bigger phone is that my tablet, which I used a fair amount, I kind of found I was using that a lot less now because the screen on this one is so much bigger than I really didn't need a tablet. So I sold my tablet. There you go. That's a benefit. Sold my tablet, and that's the first benefit. So I got some money back. So the fact is that this costs more. It wasn't really such much of a problem, although I understand that it's still not in the same price point as the Nexus 5 was at the time. It was like less than 200 quid or something. But then nothing really of that standard is now. So I was going to buy the Pixel. I was waiting for the Pixel, but when the prices were announced for the Pixel, it was just far too much. I mean, upwards of 600 quid. But this one, I went for the 3, but the 3 had just been phased out, and this was on the market. So I decided to go for the 128 gig model, and the 128 gig model wasn't readily available. I still don't think it's readily available. You have to. It's on back order. So they basically make one for you on purpose. On purpose? That's not right terminology. So they basically make one for you. If you order a 128 gig one, the 64 gig ones will get shipped straight away, but the 128 gig one gets manufactured for your purpose. So let's have a little quick look at it. First thing that I didn't like is, I do like the fact that this is an aluminium sort of nice aluminium case, so it's much more high end. But on the downside of that, I find my hand slipping on it all of the time. So what to do? Well, I ordered it with a case. Now they have a number of cases on the Oneplus website. Some of them I'm not quite sure of them. There's a lot of wood, in inverted commas, veneers cases that they have. I've got one here. Hang on, somewhere. So these are the type of wood cases that they show that they're for sale. So this one is I think this is called, what is this called? This is a black apricot wood. Now you've got to be careful. I don't know whether these are real wood or just a wood effect. I asked on Twitter and via an email to OnePlus whether these are real wood, and I got no response whatsoever. So I don't know. Now, the reason why I'm concerned about this is because some of these woods that they're showing on their website in their cases are in fact endangered. There's a rosewood one and there's an ebony one, and I know for a fact that those are endangered woods. So, a little bit concerned about that. This one I accidentally bought because I left it in my basket when I was buying the phone, but I didn't mean to buy that. What I actually bought in the end was this carbon fiber effect. Now the good thing about this is it's slightly got rubbery effect on it. So this means that once it was on the phone, it doesn't slip. Phone doesn't slip at all. So that was my one concern, and that's been alleviated by this by putting this case on. One other thing. So this here is a magnetic, is a piece of metal that sticks on. It's for my magnetic car holder for the phone holder in the car is what I want to try to say. This on the back, this is a bit of an eyesore. This has the IMEI number on for start. It's dual SIMs. It's dual nano SIMs, which a lot of Chinese phones are, which is a good thing. But I only have one SIM, and I've never used a dual SIM phone before, really. So I don't know whether it's going to be particularly useful for me, but it's the functionality is there anyway. It has the IMEI number and the serial number, and it's just a sticker. Now, for most of the other phones I've seen, it's actually etched or laser etched or embossed onto the actual body. So this looks a bit cheap. It doesn't really matter much for me because I've got this case to put on. It does look a bit cheap. I suppose you could pull it off, but then your serial number goes. Anyway, that's the one good thing. Let's have a little look around the rest of the phone now. So you'll be able to see how slim it is. It's really quite slim. You will also be able to see on the profile that the camera is actually sticking out a little bit. But sorry, I've dropped one of the things that I'm going to show you in a bit. But this, once you put the case on, the case brings it up flat. So I don't know whether that was on purpose. I guess it wasn't. I guess they had to do this because of the way the camera fits in the sensor. But it's not a big deal once you got a case on. So you've got down here, you've got the little button to pop the door open. This is the dual SIM door, dual nano SIMs. The on-off button. On the bottom, you've got speaker and the headphone jack and the USB-C. Now, obviously, having a Nexus 5, USB-C is not what I've got. So what I have is just your normal USB. I think they're USB-A's. Normal USB-A cable. It's got a lot of these. So, instant dilemma. What do? Do I buy new cables? No, I don't. What I do is you go on eBay or other sales outlets, and you buy some little USB-C adapters. These ones are really particularly good. I'll put a link to them in the description. I'm not getting paid for them. It's just I find these really, really nice, well-made little adapters. Alon, I think they're called. I think that's how you pronounce it. And they're quite good when you actually there's a satisfying little click, and it's quite firm, and you have to pull it out with a little bit of force. So it's nice to know that they're not going to get dragged out. So that's quite cool. So that's what I've gone with. So that's the USB-C problem sorted. Nothing else really on the outside. On the other side, you've got the rocker switch for the volume up and down, and this lovely little thing here, which takes you down the little modes for volume. So volume is full on, and that's sort of in sort of a mode, sort of quietish mode. There's the full quiet mode. There's a sort of I can't remember what the terminology is for it, but it's sort of I use this for my watch because I've got a Pebble watch, so I don't want it ringing. I don't want the text messages to be beeping and everything. I just want those to come through directly through my watch. So I've got it in an intermediate profile so that phone calls ring, but nothing else rings, and all else comes through them. Everything else comes through my watch. Anyway, so that's a good thing. I'll tell you more about that once I switch the phone on. One other nice thing is that you've got a screensaver, the screen protector, rather, screensaver. Where am I in the 90s? Screensaver, screen protector, it comes with the phone. So when I got this phone, the screen protector was already applied, and it was already applied better than I probably could apply it. So I have no problem with that. Fingerprints are a problem though, as you can see. I don't know whether you can see that. Full of fingerprints already. This was cleaned this down. Anyway, so that's the first part. That's the outside of the phone. So now on to the second part. Okay, so now that we come on to the part where we do a small review of the OnePlus 3T, and I'll go through some of the features. Now, to start off with, for those of you who are observant, you will notice that the phone that we have here doesn't have the original screen protector on. And that is because when I did the first lot of filming, there was a break before I've done this lot of filming. And in the middle, I went on holiday, and I took this phone on holiday with me. And on the first or the second day, the screen protector actually came off. Now, I was very worried. I tried to put it back on again, but it had bubbled and it was just unusable. So I took it off. I threw caution to the wind. I thought it's a Gorilla Glass 4 screen. I'll be fine, because in all of the time that I had the Nexus 5 and I was using that, I never had a screen protector on. It went in my pocket. Never had any scratches on. Absolutely fine. Well, day 2 without a screen protector, I got a scratch on it, and I'm going to try and show you here, but it's let me just, I'll polish the screen up a little bit to try and show you this scratch. It's down here. Yeah, it's probably, you probably can't see that. It's a little line that goes, try to point it out, a little line that goes from here across here, a little scratch here. Yeah, I think you can just see it there. Where did I see it? Just there, that bit there, and it goes down here. That's a scratch. Anyway, not happy. I've used it in exactly the way that I've always used my Nexus 5, and within a couple of days, like I said, you know, a scratch on. Not great. Don't know why. Put it in my pocket like I would normally do my Nexus. The only thing I can think of is that I actually must, because it's a bigger phone, I must have scratched, had it in my jeans, and the little rivet must have scratched on it. But I genuinely can't see how that happened, because I always put the screen facing out so it doesn't actually catch on the rivets. But anyway, there is a scratch there now. Now I've ordered. Some may say this is after the host has bolted. I have ordered a tempered glass screen protector, which I will put on when it arrives, and hopefully that'll disappear, because it's only visible in certain angles of light. So anyway, not happy. Anyway, the rest of the phone is just polish it up a bit, as we saw before. So I'm gonna start by turning it on. As you would expect, you just hold down the on-off button at the side, and then it goes into the full Android mode and starts up. And you get that little animation in the middle, which is it's the OnePlus logo. It's a lot of OnePlus colours, and it goes round and round. It's just like a standard animation that it decides to use. Quite quick, you see how quickly that was that came up from being off to being on. Much quicker than Androids that I've had in the past. Now, of course, the good thing is it's got a fingerprint recognition here, but on the first time you boot it up, it won't allow you to do the fingerprint recognition. You have to put in the pin, so I'm going to take it off screen while I put the pin in. I don't want to show you the pin number. Oh no, terrible. And then we're in here. So then if I press the on-off button again, and now I can go in using my fingerprint, which is good. And just to show you that it doesn't work on any of the other screens, it only works on that finger rather. So sometimes it comes up and says too fast, but no other screen. Even if I go around like this, it'll work, which is good. Okay, so some of the features that I'm going to cover today, are features of the Oneplus, and some of them will be features of Android 7. Now, I've never seen Android 7 before I had the Oneplus, so I don't necessarily know the difference, but I think I know the ones that are specific to the Oneplus. So I did show you the little toggle switch before. Now this is useful, and I'll show you that as I'm going through. So if we go into the settings mode, we have Wi-Fi. That's standard. I'm not going to go through that. It's a standard Wi-Fi. You turn it on, you turn it off, and you set all the Wi-Fi up. That's the same. The Bluetooth the same. But the SIM and networks are different. The SIM and networks are, because there's 2 SIM slots, they have individual settings for each of the SIM slots. You can have data roaming and access point and choose network operators and all of this stuff for each independent SIM, which is nice. I haven't got to. Well, I do have another SIM. Maybe I'll show you that later with 2 SIMs in there. But as you would expect, you can choose which SIM you use and set as a default. And the data usage. This is a standard Android thing. This is the SIM. How much data is going through my SIM, and it would be the same for the Wi-Fi. That's all standard stuff. Under the More section, you've got airplane mode, you've got tethering, it can be a hotspot, same stuff. VPN, NFC, tap and pay for Android Pay, all that stuff. Okay, now in settings, the settings that are specific to OnePlus phones and not standard Android settings are the ones under the customization section. Let me just go back. So the alert slider is what I showed you before, the alert slider on the side. Let me just go back. The alert slider on the side. Now, normally you would have it on the bottom setting, which is the ring setting, which is just everything rings, all alerts, all warnings, they all come through on the phone and give you buzzes and rings and tings and whatever you set the sounds to be and vibrations. That profile there is standard. But I normally have it in the middle mode, which is the do not disturb mode. And the reason why I have it in this mode is if you look at the profile, alarms will ring, so I still get calls from people. And the sounds of a ring on for a phone call, but I've got reminders and events switched off on here, and that's because I use a Pebble watch, and all of those reminders and events come through as a little vibration on my Pebble watch. So I don't want those to actually make a sound. So you can do that, and on the final option on here is the top level, which is the silent mode, which is similar, but you set everything to off, essentially. All media is silent, and the only ones you get is alarms through. So that's the alert slider. So I'll switch that back into my position. Now the buttons are section is quite useful. You'll see that down here there are 2 capacitive buttons which appear as little dots on here, as you would do on any normal Android phone. Well, using these customizations, you can actually switch them to be not on the capacitive bottom layer, but actually on the screen. Let me do that. In that option, they appear just above the capacitive bar. So you've got the section here. Now, some people may like that. I don't particularly like that. So I've always got mine back on the capacitive bar here. You've also got things you can swap the buttons, the order of recent and back buttons. You can press the power button twice for a camera, and there's various other options here, so you can long press, double press, and various actions for those here. Go back to the settings. The gestures is a good one. So there are certain gestures that you can set to get into various applications when you're on the blank screen. So if I do a 0 here, it automatically goes into camera mode. And I haven't logged in. I haven't logged in using my fingerprint recognition. So I can go into camera mode. And there's another screen one with the one I can remember is the V. So the V switches the torch on. You'll see that the torch is on here. Okay, so the last gesture that we've got here. So we've had a look at how to open the camera, to toggle the flashlight. If you do the 2 fingers, you can wake up the phone. So that's a 2-finger wake up. Double tap. So you don't actually, it's not a 2-finger wake up. It's just a double tap with 1 finger. You can wake up the phone, which is quite handy to have. And then you can also control the music by drawing a greater than or less than to go forward or back on the next track. You can standard stuff here as well as flip to mute. So if you turn the phone over when it's ringing, it'll mute it. And the 3-finger screenshot is quite good. So if you draw 3 fingers from the bottom, from the capacitive bar up to the top, you get a screenshot. So let me do that again. You can hear a little click. I don't know where that picked it up, but I've got it on so the camera makes a noise, and you can take screenshots, which is quite good. So I've got a load of screenshots that I've just taken up here, which we'll just delete. So that's the main part. That's the gestures that are. I'm fairly sure the majority of those are specific to the Oneplus range of phones. There's other ones as well. There's other issues. There are other options which, for instance, if you look at the display, this is where you'll set the themes and the calibration and night mode and stuff like that. But it also has the LED notification. For each of the notifications that have come through on the little LED up at the top, you can change the colours on that, which I've never seen that before. Apologies if that's on other phones. I don't know. So it's nice to change the colours. So I have mine change colours changing when I'm charging up. So if I've got a battery full, say we'll have a green light. When it's charging, it gets a magenta, and if it's low, it's red. Notice that those only work in that color form for if you're just charging on a normal USB-C charger, not through the dash charger. With the dash charger is something that I'll talk about later on. So that's quite nice. And obviously, if we go back to the security side of things, let me just find it. Security. This is where you set up the fingerprint. Now you would have seen me do some fingerprints here when I click here. This is how and it is really that fast. It doesn't because it's so quick. It seems like it's not actually doing a fingerprint open, but it is. It is actually doing a fingerprint. For instance, if I try it with a different, it not recognized. That's what it says there. Let me just try that. So it does say not recognized, and then it prompts to put in my PIN, which I'll do off camera again. There you go. So those are the main areas that are different from a standard Android phone. Some of them are maybe Android 7 options, but as I said, I've never used Android 7 until I got this phone. So the features that are specific OnePlus and the features that are Android 7, I may get mixed up. But that's just some of the reasons why I like the phone. From the settings page. Now, all of the other settings, I'm not going to go through them because they are really just standard Android settings. Languages, inputs, different accounts, locations, apps, users, battery, all those sort of things, all standard. The only one thing that I look extra is if you go to the About Phone section. Now you'll see that up here you have the Oxygen OS version as well, which is the OS which the OnePlus phones use, and then the base OS, which is the Android version. So this Oxygen is based on Android, and there is a 7.11 version out at the moment, but that's just in beta. So those are the things that I like on this phone in terms of the settings from any other phone that I've used. But I'm not going to go through all the rest of them. So the next stage, we'll move on to something else. Okay, so back onto the camera now. In order to get in the camera, I just did the O circle that I showed you before. So we'll go through the stills and then we'll go through the video. So the stills is much like any other smartphone camera. You've got HDR, HQ, flash down one side. You have the little toggle between front-facing, rear-facing here, and then you've got some options for the aspect ratio, timer, and whether you want a grid. That's all fairly standard. If you go to the options down here, you can see that what's now built into the camera is things that I've in the past had to use separate apps for. So we've got a time lapse, which I used to use a separate app for. We've got slow motion. We've got panorama. They're all sections that are built into the camera now. So we've got still photos. We've got video, and we've got manual. Now, I'll go to the manual first. The photos one is just the automatic standard smartphone point and click. The manual lets you have some sort of granularity more akin to a DSLR. So you see that everything we've currently got on there is auto, but I can change any one of these, and what pops up is a sort of a dial that you can change. For instance, that's the focus, from infinity and right the way down, manual focus, which is cool. Put it on auto. Then you've got the shutter speed here, which you can change from an auto setting. You've got the contrast here, and you've got that for different lighting situations, incandescent, auto, daylight, etc., etc., which is nice to know. And then you've got the ISO settings as well at the bottom, which you can again change. On the same situation, it's a virtual dial, and these are all nice things to have. So you know that you're not stuck to the automatic settings. Now, one thing I'll do before I'll show you the video settings is I have been told that, and I've seen on the forums, on the OnePlus 3T forums, that people are complaining about this camera. They're complaining that it's not very good. It's blurry. You get a lot of lens flare when you're working in areas of lots of light. I have to say I have not seen this. What I have seen is a very, very competent, professional camera in a phone. And in order to do this, I took this on holiday with me, and I've just returned from holiday, and I've filmed some video. Now the video here, if you look on here, you see that you've got the option of taking it in 4K. You actually have 720p, 1020p 30 frames, and 1080p 30 frames, 1080p 60 frames, and 4K. And I've filmed some footage using this phone, because I know you wouldn't get a good representation if I just uploaded it in the middle of this video. So I've filmed some test footage at 4K, and what I'm going to do is hopefully, if I grasp the complexities of YouTube, here there should be a little box with the video in. If you click that, you'll be able to see the actual footage that I took with this phone. If you want to do that now, that's great, but come back to this video. And if you want to do it later, that's great, but come back to this video. just watch the video. But that's where the actual footage that was taken by this phone on holiday will appear. If you want to just click that and see the full 4K video. So that's essentially what you have in terms of the phone, the photo capability within this phone. It's a 16 megapixel camera on the rear and a 16 megapixel camera on the front. Okay, so this is the very last part of my review of the OnePlus 3T. I know I've gone way over time, but I wanted to get some stuff in, and I do tend to ramble. I don't really have a script, so I just go what I think about. Go with what I think about. So this is the last bit, and I think this is important because could be one of the reasons why you would get a OnePlus 3T over another phone. Apart from the fact everything else I think is a really good phone. The rapid charging functionality is one of the best I've seen. Now, there are other phones in the marketplace, medium to high-end phones, who have this rapid charging functionality, who have a rapid charging functionality. And they all use the same type of rapid charging functionality, which is part of the Qualcomm chipset. Now, Qualcomm, essentially, there's two ways of doing this. To get this rapid charge functionality, you can either increase the voltage to the phone, and that charges the battery up quicker, or you can increase the current to the phone to charge the battery up quicker. And whether the Qualcomm system uses the higher voltage mechanism, the proprietary system that's in the OnePlus 3 and the OnePlus 3T is called dash charging, and that does it via the current mechanism, the higher current. Now, pluses and minus in both systems. If you use the Qualcomm system, then you don't need any extra. Well, all of the extra electronics is in the phone that you need to cope with that higher voltage and within the software. With the dash charging system that's in the OnePlus 3Ts, all of that extra electronics is in the actual adapter, the USB adapter that you plug into the wall. And I'll show you what you get with the phone to cope with that. So you get the lead, obviously the USB lead, and you also get the wall adapter. Now, the wall adapter looks quite a chunky little beast, and that's because like I said, all the electronics for that extra increase in current is in here, and that includes the dissipation of the heat. So when you're charging this up rapidly via dash, it still feels reasonably cool, the phone, whereas the Qualcomm version, when you're increasing the voltage, it actually may have to cut down the voltage if the phone gets too hot. So I want to do a little experiment here. I still don't know really how it does it, but I'll show you, if I can, how you need to have the full dash system. So it's got to have dash on it. You can't just use the Qualcomm, even the label. Let's have a look. It's on here. You see, it says dash on here. There it is, dash there. So you need to use the dash labeled, branded, functional stuff to get that high speed on the OnePlus 3T. And if you break that in series with anything else, whether adapters or anything else, if you break the proprietary one dash charge system right the way through, so if you interrupt it between here and the cable, or between the cable and the phone, it reverts back to a normal charger. So to give you some example, I'll show you what I've rigged up. So I've got a battery pack here, power bank, and I'm just going to put a standard USB-C connection. So this is not using dash, this is just using any standard charging mechanism. So we'll push. Let's just remove these for now. So phone in here, and plug the other end of the USB cable into the standard power bank. So what you'll see here immediately is down here, I'll just get that in focus, it just says charging and a percentage. That's fine. And up here you'll see a little magenta icon, a magenta LED, which, as I showed before, proves that it's charging. That's when we went through all the LED notifications. Now that's fine. That'll just continue away as a normal charger using a slow charge mechanism. Okay. Now, what I also show you, if I can put this little USB safety tester charge detection system in series with this, you'll see what it gets on a normal charge. So this will just show you the top shows you the voltage, and the bottom shows you the current. So it's kind of a 5 volt output with a 1.2 amps charging. So 1.1, 1.2, something like that. And that's fairly standard. That's what you normally push out to this phone on a normal tester. Now, if I take this out of the loop completely and bring in the dash charging mechanism. Now, to do that, I'm going to have to bring into play an adapter, power adapter, or rather a multi-plug adapter. And then we'll have to do it. We have to plug it in to the wall socket, essentially, and then put the USB in there, and then plug this into the phone. Now what you'll see in here is immediately it goes to dash charging, so it recognizes it's in the dash system, and then you'll see that the LED at the top is actually now blue rather than the magenta, so you know immediately that you're using dash charging rather than standard charge. And if you go back to the this will start increasing reasonably rapidly from now on because it's in the mechanism. Now, if I decided that I was just going to use this cable, because this cable looks pretty thick, and it obviously takes a lot of current, more than a standard. If you just compare this against a standard USB cable, you see it is thicker. So that kind of gives you the nod that there is a bit more current going through there. But if I just was to use this cable in a standard USB situation, I bring back in the power bank, put this back in here. Right. You'll see that I do get a bit of a higher increase even using this cable. So this is a 1.5 amps now, even using this cable on a standard non-dash charging mechanism. And if you go back down to the phone, you'll see that we've gone back to a normal charger. It knows it's not dash charging, so it needs dash charging right throughout in series. So from the wall socket right the way through to the cable, right the way through to the phone, uninterrupted. As soon as you put something else in, it automatically degrades itself down to a normal charger. But it will give you, the fact that you've seen the two currents means that you are able to push more current down that cable. Unfortunately, I can't show you anything about what is actually happening whilst dash charging, because as soon as I put the current tester in series, it actually degrades it back down to normal charging. But that's a really good point of why one of the reasons why you would buy this phone is the charging is quick. And I don't know, it said something about you can get from 0 to 90% charged in 20 minutes. I don't know about that, but I certainly come in from work with 30% on my phone and charge it back up to 100% within around 20 minutes. So that's pretty good in my book. So that is it. That's the phone. That's the last thing I'm going to show you on the OnePlus 3T. I hope you've enjoyed my not so brief investigation, and I hope you now know why I chose this phone to replace my Nexus 5. If you have any comments, leave them underneath this video. Please give me a plus, a thumbs up or a thumbs down, whether you like it or don't like it. And if you don't like it, give me some constructive criticism. Don't just slag me off. Well, you can't slag me off. I won't respond if you just slag me off. But if you give me some constructive criticism, I'll try and do better the next time. Okay, then. That's great. Thank you very much for watching. Bye.